if there's a book to be written on my life, you could call the book 2014 because it's the most significant year, in terms of just major things happening.
Did you say, okay, God, I'm saying yes, but like, how am I supposed to be an artist now and do this?
The interesting part to the story that a lot of people don't know unless you're close to me is 2015, it takes off and I get offered a job at almost every mega church in the country.
2013, he says yes to the ministry. 2014, he and his wife have a difficult pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
That burst the trademark song Made Away.
Made Away, yeah.
But
I never forget that. She said, your mama got some stories. She prayed you back to life. Your mom.
That's right.
Man, shoot.
It's a quiet down moment. I hear this guy say, "Play, it's Norman." What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mavericks on the Mic. I'm JJ.
I'm EJ.
I'm Norman.
And I'm Travis.
No.
I know. I just wanted to do that. I just wanted to do that. I can't just jump in there like that. He said no.
There's a way. Cut you off. So no.
Man, happy to have you.
Yeah,
happy
thank
to have you. You are gospel music icon, the brother-in-law of Norman Jumphy.
We don't say brother-in-law. That's some white people stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff right there. It's my brother, man.
Yeah, you add a whole lot of superlatives.
Okay, all right. What, like, is that like a thing? Is that like y'all agreed on that? Y'all don't call each other brother-in-laws?
That's just more of a white thing. Like, y'all are more formal. Like, I don't call my stepdad. I'm sure if you had a stepdad, you call him stepdad.
No,
You call him what?
His name? Him my bonus dad.
Yeah, nah, that's even a lie.
What is that? Bonus dad.
That's even a lie. See, me and my sister grew up with proper decorum. If you have another dad, he's just dad. You know what I'm saying? And your other dad, he dad too. You ain't no disambiguity. Dad, brother. We don't do all that step, half, crisscross, applesauce. It's just what it is, bruh. We won't do no dilutions.
I love it.
Yeah, Travis, people know you from music, but then I think there was a very timely shift into pastoral leadership. And a lot of times I feel like artists kind of make that shift and then they fall in love with that, or it consumes them in a way that they can't do the other stuff anymore. But I feel like you've always been able to do both very well, and it's really more like an expansion of who you are. Is that intentional? Was that like the plan, or is this just like this is how it was gonna go?
Nah, none of it was intentional.
Really?
As a matter of fact, it's funny how God does things. For me, He had me say yes to pastoring a year before I even, recorded Made Away and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So 2013 is when, ironically enough, in Atlanta airport, I just feel like this burden to start a church. Never wanted to do it. Gave a list of reasons why it was a bad idea for me to be that candidate. God graciously countered all of my excuses and warnings to him that this was a bad idea, and told me that I'll be able to do it the way that he placed in my heart, something new, and especially in our region. It's kind of unheard of. The style that we present the gospel, the way that we dress, the whole nine. And so that vision came in 2013. And then 2014, my wife gets pregnant. And we have that miracle with my first son. And I write Made Away, record Made Away on Norman's birthday, November 8th, 2014. And then it's off to the races. So I think the lesson there is giving God a yes before he gives you a yes. Right? I think sometimes... because this prayer for music is a lifelong prayer at this time, 30-year prayer. Right. And I kept getting, not yet. And it wasn't until I gave God a 2013 yes for the local church that he gave me the 2014 yes for global music. So
wow. Yeah. So the encouragement then is full obedience, right? Not like obedience for the thing that you want to do, but like actually like yes to everything you say.
Yeah. Because there's protection in that. Had I not done that, like, have I not made an agreement with God in 2013?
Yeah.
There's no way I'd be in South Carolina,
But did you ask the how? Like, did you say, okay, God, I'm saying yes, but like, how am I supposed to be an artist now and do this? Like, did you ask for the blueprint, or was it more like going, I'll show you?
Yeah, it was definitely going, I'll show you. Because that's what I'm saying. I had already been sitting on it, yes.
Yeah.
So it's 2013. It's not till, I think like probably like mid 2014 that I signed with RC at the time. Mm-hmm. And then we do the live recording the end of 2014. And then 2015 is just fire. It took off. But my mind was already made up. So the interesting part to the story that a lot of people don't know unless you're close to me is 2015, it takes off. And I get offered a job at almost every mega church in the country. And
to be like worship pastor.
Yeah, I'm talking about the top.
The church.
Yeah, the best of the best. And I told them all, God told me to start a church. I'm moving to South Carolina.
What was the response?
Everybody's like, you're crazy. Like, what, bro? Do you know who this is? It was that, not in like a private way, but almost like you
don't turn that down.
No. Yeah. Like, even my mentor was like, yo, man, like, you could always do the church thing. Like, this is,
you can do that when you're 55.
Yeah, no, you got calm by, the best of the best.
So talk about now, because now I'm like, not that I'm intending to.
No, yeah.
Church,
I think you rushing through some things because it's a few points that in the journey that if you skip by, you don't get the fullness of the story.
Yeah.
So like 2013, he says yes to the ministry. 2014, he and his wife have a difficult pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
That bursts the trademark song that we all know him by, not intentional but Made Away.
Made Away, yeah.
But without you got to understand the journey of faith, and how it all ties in and how it all brings us to today. So talk about the journey of Jace and having Jace, what that was like, how that story fits into the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, 2014 is probably, if there's a book to be written on my life, you could call the book 2014 because it's the most significant year, in terms of just major things happening. I turned 30 in 2014, the beginning of 2014, which already allowed me, it just dealt with some, I think, unspoken anxiety in me. At that point, I would have outlived my dad by 2 years, who died when he was 28. So, and that was always like on my neck. Like, you got to get, whatever you're going to do, you got to get it done because 28 is coming. So I'm 30 and I could breathe a little bit. I'm like, all right. So my wife throws me a birthday party in Charlotte, and three things happened at this birthday party. That's just at my 30th birthday party. One, we announced that she's pregnant. Two, we announced that we're moving to Columbia from Charlotte, next year to start a church. And then three, Norman comes up for remarks and says, "Hey man, and this is BC, right? This is that
Norman.
Yeah. We don't know where he was the night before, Norman, right? And he comes on stage and gets a microphone and says, I mean, you could tell it was kind of an out of body thing because it wasn't. He was just like, yeah. So when y'all start the church, like, me and Blair gonna be there. And
pause. Why?
Oh, I don't know.
And it wasn't like we're going to be there at the first service.
Yeah.
Like, we're helping to plant this thing. We're going to be there.
Why? Like, what?
It was a God moment. You know what I mean? Like, you get into the moment. I was praying. We was all supposed to go up and pray. I don't think it was a month. I think it was actually a prayer. And just what came out of my mouth, It wasn't I mean, I could tell you it wasn't me. Because I had no intent to follow through with it. And
it's like, this is a good thing to say right now.
Like, I'm not a church boy. So it's like, ain't nobody holding that to your fire. I don't know. I don't have no church, at that point in time. Yeah. I don't have any of that in me. You go to church. Me and Naomi talked about it. You go to church and, black people know how to do church, act church, say the right thing. I'm just saying what I feel. That's kind of how. That's what I felt, I guess. Or that's what the unction in me was. So, ain't no why.
So you didn't feel like it cost you anything in that moment?
Oh, no. Yeah. It didn't cost me nothing. Because, like I'm saying, I'm not a church kid.
Yeah.
So, like a church kid, no. The pastor going to come, follow up. I don't know what no core group is. I don't know. I never heard of this stuff.
I'm going to have your back. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like, I'm going home after this.
But what ended up happening then?
Yeah, I mean, literally, he and Blair for man, I don't even know how long. We're driving from Atlanta to Columbia weekly.
And he wasn't doing music stuff yet, right?
Nah,
Just
this is
church.
pre. This is pre that. Yeah, this is pre that. So then, so then 2014. So we announced we're pregnant. She go in a few months later to get just the gender. We just trying to get the gender in the envelope. We're gonna do a gender reveal. You know, that's hot at this time. It just people just started doing these gender reveals. You know, back then. And so we're like, oh, we're gonna get in on this. You know, we're gonna do a gender reveal. And when we're there, like the stenographer was like, yo, this is bad. And so my wife walked in, perfect health, school. You know, she's in dental school last year, and her final year of dental school. And so they're like, yeah, you're getting admitted. And so long story short, God just performed a miracle. She laid on bed rest for 7 weeks, and God resealed her wound after it. Literally, her water broke at 21 weeks, literally. And our prayer was God reseal her womb, and just miraculously He did. The high risk specialist said in 20 years she's never seen it before, and but it was doing this, and then so she's in the bed for 2 months. She have Jace at 28 weeks. He's in the NICU for 2 months. So we spent a third of that year of 2014. That's why I said that year just marked me. I learned God in a new way. Every single day in the hospital, the only thing I listened to was Casey J's version of Fill Me Up. Every single day. It was it. I know every little part of that song because it was just the only thing that I consumed. But then one day while we were in the hospital, you know, I went because their mom lived in Augusta, and that's where Jackie was in dental school. And so one day I was like, I'm just going to go to the house real quick, freshen up. And while I was there, I just literally in the shower, I just started hearing this song. I got out, got my acoustic, just started playing it. I called her on FaceTime and sung it to her. Made her way. And that's the story behind it, you know.
So that's a landmark. Like that's
Yeah. It was a significant moment. It's where I think she and I probably the most. We both have you know, our spiritual journeys, but I think that in our adulthood was something, and together that was like a marker for our faith. You know what I mean? Like where we built stones. It's like, oh no, we know God. We know God. You can get all in this talk about theories or whatever else. You know?
Yeah. This is what I know.
I know. Yeah. I know power. That wasn't the doctor. Is responsible for us having a 10-year-old walking around, and so it marked us, and not knowing, you know, what, you know, the record would do. As a matter of fact, the label didn't either. They signed me off of intentional. They didn't know, and I told them. You know, it's funny. I told them at the time, Joseph Burney and Uncle Jeff, rest his soul, and all of them. I told them at the meeting. I was like, "Yo, like I do this. Like this not my best work. Like, it's a good song, but like no, I write, I produce, like I do this." They're like, "Okay." And I was like, I'm gonna do a recording. So they came down to Charlotte, and literally Norman had on a suit. He didn't know how to dress at recordings. He wore a blue suit with brown shoes, like a full suit. He's the only person in the whole venue with a suit on. He looked like mafia. A whole blue suit, navy blue suit on. And he was there, and the Blair was there. It was so funny
because I remember that Norman.
No,
that's
I
how he
remember
showed
that
up.
guy.
I have a story for that, but keep going.
No, but that's how he showed up. It's so funny. It was moments like that, and other moments even before he was like in the music, where he just had this thing. You know, like we were cool. I wouldn't say we were like super close, but we was cool. He respected me because I came and saw him, you know, in college at probably one of his lowest seasons. I went up to DC and saw him. So he had like this just respect for me. So we were cool. But I remember, and there's a picture of it that night, and I'm like super nervous, and I'm sitting down in the back, and I got like my head down. I think I might have had like one of the inhaler things. And he like literally came up to me, like, it was just like, bruh, it's time. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, he don't know nobody there. Nobody there know him. He's Jackie's brother that just happened to be at the recording with a navy blue suit on, and he managing me at my first ever recording. So you know, it's funny how God does it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, it's funny because when I met you, I also met Norman at the same time. Yeah. This would have been 2016 at Big Church Day Out in England.
Yeah, I remember.
And I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you, but we were you were leading worship. And I was just standing in the back of the room, and I hear this guy, like it's a quiet down moment. I hear this guy say, "Play, play." I'm like, what is happening? So I walk around on the side. It's Norman. So I'm thinking, okay, that's their process. Like he's the MD. Later that night, he's telling somebody, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what middle C is. I couldn't tell you what an A is." So I'm like, what is this guy doing? But it's funny because we joke about it. He's like, "I just knew what my brother wanted, and I was telling him to play." But it's just when you said something about the blue suit and the brown shoes, I was like, "Oh my
that's
gosh,
normal.
it's so normal."
Yeah, that's him for sure.
So the two of you and your incredible wife, Dr. Jackie Greene, now are starting be really equipped at that point, right? I mean, God was giving you all some of the stuff that you would need.
Yeah.
Did you know? I mean, you couldn't have known how badly you would need some of those moments of connectivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you all are in ministry together.
Yeah.
Like, do you look back at that season of 2014 now and see like, oh, that's where we were tethered for this ministry? Because it feels like God almost like completed or perfected a part of your faith journey for the next season.
Yeah, it was a big part. I think more than tethering, probably just like maturing. Right? We were really close from like day one.
Yeah.
So 2007 when we met. It was just magical, like day one. So we always had like a special thing. And even, we had a long distance relationship. So that created really our whole relationship was built off of communication and not really physical stuff. We separated. So it was a very pure, organic, intellectual relationship, like really getting to know each other in a deep space. Like, just stand up on the phone for 10 hours. What secret have you not told anybody? That type of stuff. So just learning each other. So we had all of that history, and at this point in 2014, we would have been married over 3 years. So, I think close to 3 years. We're into our third year. So, we had history, we had context, but I think it just matured us. I think nothing matures you more than suffering, right? When you're desperate, man, you grow up. You grow up from like Santa Claus faith. You grew up from God, I'm only serving you so that. And you shift in your walk with God to start valuing and being appreciative of little things. One thing that we did was we had, because it said, man, the way our technology is, if you can get to, I think it was like 27, if you can get to like 27, we feel really good about his chance of survival, right? 27 weeks. And so we had these, they're literally like rubber bands. You remember those? And we had different colors of them. And I think we had maybe 7 of them. 28. So we had whatever. I think we had 7 of them. And so her and the all the nurses, it became a thing. Like Norman Blair, like friends and friends, different people send pictures, like praying for Jace around, the country, different artists, friends, just different people, people, and our family were just supporting. And so when I bring that up, because every week we will remove a rubber band. And man, when you it's one thing to be grateful for the full manifestation of a promise. But to me, that's lazy praise, right? The Red Sea is split, it's closed, the army's driving, we made it. Anyone could praise God there. Wow. I think, man, if you could praise him for keeping the water up while you're walking through, and for us, the removal of those rubber bands was like, man, another week you kept us, and we're grateful.
Wow.
Man, you didn't have to keep us.
That's so good.
Another week, man. And I think it just matured us to not skip. It's funny when you say, man, we skipping so much of the story. Yeah. But I think we do that in life, right? We skip so many moments that are praiseworthy. Like, man, I ain't got, whatever I wanted, but man, another day you kept me, God. It's funny. I'm reading a book that I've read several times. It's called The Jesus I Never Knew. And he's talking about, the author is the older white guy, but he's talking about the difference between the praise and the desperation, even in church and even in songwriting, of blacks and whites. And he says it stems from history, that slave songwriters were singing songs like "Swing Low," "Sweet Chariot," and it sounds like a slave song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But "Coming Forth to Carry Me Home," their hope was in a future home. Period. There was no hope for the present.
That's right.
I have someone, I've watched my dad get shot in this cotton field. My mom get raped every day, and I've been beat to a bloody pulp. I don't have any hope for being successful on this side of eternity. My only hope is in eternity. And so the songs and the desperation of the black culture when it comes to God, it ain't casual.
Right.
That's why somebody can be, man, slinging dope, gang banging, fam, they in trouble. They like, man,
That's right.
Lord Jesus. I think I heard my grandma say this before. Hey dog, Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, so it's embedded in us because there is a level of desperation. And I think success as we know it has watered down that desperation for God. It's nothing like knowing you need him. When you can afford everything you want, when your health is perfect, when your life is what you imagine, then, and I think I'm going to preach this Sunday about the Beatitudes, which is Matthew 5. It's Jesus' most famous sermon. But he's going through blessed are, blessed are, blessed are, blessed. But the people who he's saying are blessed, it's like he's flipping the script. He's not saying blessed are the happy. He's saying blessed are those that mourn.
That's right.
He's not saying blessed are those who fight wars. He says blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the poor in spirit. And Luke just said it straight up. He's like, nah, I heard him say blessed are the poor.
That's right.
And it's like God has a special place in his heart for those who are desperate for him, because there's a level of prayer, of zeal, of passion that gets watered. And that's what he says. Like Jesus literally said, man, it's easier for a camel to make it through a needle than it is for a rich person to get into the kingdom. And what he's talking about is not that he's against stuff, but he knows how quickly we replace him for stuff.
Right.
Sorry, I don't know why I took that street.
No, I love
No,
it.
that's good.
No, I told y'all my pastors was coming on today. So we gotta take it. And I think that what he's talking about, especially when he's talking about taking the bands off, and the thing he didn't hit was that when he wrote the song "Made Away," the way hadn't been made. He didn't write "make a way." He will make a way. He definitively stated "made a way," and it's a defining characteristic and kind of the way that they move and the way that they walk. It's with a unparalleled or unexplainable certainty that God is going to do it. And that's the uniqueness, I would say, of Jackie and Travis, is that like they have this knowing. Like Michael Jordan had that knowing when he was on the court. I'm going to win. Steph, I'm going to make this shot. There's this knowing that they have, and that comes through. Like, I'm not going to say what it comes. What does that come from? Like, how do you get to that level of faith, that level of assurance?
I think it's resisting amnesia. I can't forget, man. I won't allow myself to forget. That's where it came from. So, I remember Mom said something, the same thing when I say in-laws, but your mom said something. I call her Mom too. But I'll never forget, this is another powerful moment that happened at the hospital. She came up there, and we were in deep desperation, and it just happened. And Jackie's laying there, and she's looking at her daughter, and she said these words. She said, "Our family's not used to this type of warfare. We need Mama Greene here." I never forget that. She said, your mama got some stories. She prayed you back to life. Your mom.
That's right.
Man, shoot. Sorry. But I think like she even recognized that faith and the knowing, it really comes from, like history with God. History with God. And not saying moms don't have her own stories and have her own journey and seeing God do some stuff.
Right.
But I remember that moment. I remember she's like, "Yo, we need Mom Greene." Like Mom Greene she done seen like this ain't Harris warfare. Like there's some green stuff. And so like we fighting for a green legacy, like you guys' seed. And I remember that. I remember my mom come up there, and I remember Aunt Vern coming up there and declaring life, and we're unwavering. But I really believe that level of faith is produced by not forgetting. Like not forgetting. It's funny when you read the Bible and you get to, and you would know this, DJ, as a theologian, but you get to like Numbers and even Deuteronomy, it's almost like, God, talk about something else.
It's definitely we get it.
Yeah, like
definitely.
He is so redundant. It's like, okay, you brought the Israelites out of Egypt. Like how many times he did like, yep. Hey, tell this story.
That's right.
Hey, Moses, tell this. And then even Moses, when he's charging and raising up his mentee Joshua, he's like, hey, make sure you tell them this. And it's over and over and over because there is nothing like history that builds your faith. It's why they will put stones out. Because what's going to happen is, and those stones will build a monument, an altar even, of saying, hey, don't forget when we crossed this river. Don't forget when God slayed this giant. Don't forget when God dealt with his army. Don't forget when. And so what happens is they know from generation to generation, or even from month to month. If you don't keep the testimony alive, it'll water down, and you'll think that you did it yourself. You'll fool yourself and thinking, Travis, you built the big church. Travis, you didn't do nothing, fam. You had a speech impediment and was pronounced dead. That's what you were. Like you were fatherless. You didn't make the basketball team because you was too short. And you got a girl that's way out of your league. That's your actual resume. Like, fam, you ain't what? No, you ain't built like, no, man. The musical talent that I have, everything that I have has been a gift, a loan even from God. And my only responsibility is a steward. I don't own anything. I'm a manager of everything he gives me. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And I think the only way that I keep that alive in me is, man, I won't forget. I can't be in his presence and act like I don't remember. What? I can't just get so casual. I just shared this past Sunday a story that happened. I was at a conference and I just kind of made it into like the cool preachers club. Right? I'm being serious. I'm not even trying to be funny.
It's like, a club.
Yeah, it's a club. Sure. And it's a frat. And so I was coming up and everybody knew me for singing, which, if you're already known for something, it's very hard. Michael Jordan, good luck at baseball. We just want you to dribble the basketball. You know what I mean? So like, Travis, just sing. Shut up. You don't know how to preach. No one cares. No one knows that I'm actually educated in theology. No one cares. Sing. Post a music video.
Here's guitar.
Yeah, quit posting these preaching clips. Who don't want that? Get up there and do a spin move. So I had an uphill battle with that of like, no, there's more to me, right? There's more to me. And so I just probably over the past, 3 years kind of broke through, and I got some really cool looks on some big platforms that kind of, in man's eyes, solidified me as like a bona fide speaker. When Jake's put you up and Frederick put you up, Mike Todd put you up, Joel Osteen put you up, people start noticing. So I started getting those looks, and then so I started getting invited to kind of be in the cool club, in some of the group texts, in some of the conferences and stuff. So something happened to me recently. I was at a conference, and these guys are, we talking about the most famous preachers of our generation. I love them all, and this is not. I want to make sure that I'm very clear. It's not a knock, and this is not me throwing shade. It's not me. None of that. This is literally just a pure thing that God did to me, right? Yeah. So I'm standing there, and the worship team is up there, and I'm like, I'm also, when you're in a new space that you're trying to figure out etiquette. If I'm in your world, there's an etiquette in your world. You know what I mean? If I show up, I'm like, yo, like what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? So I'm looking around like, okay, this is the etiquette. Don't do nothing stupid. So I'm like, all right, everybody nodding their head, nod your head. Worship. This is cool. And I'm like, so then I was just like, oh, lift my hands. I'm like, man. And, I was like, okay, I lifted the hand, one hand, two hands, cool. And, man, the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me and convicted me. And he was like, yo, what's that?
What you doing?
Yeah, he was like, did you ask me what I want? And I was like, yo, like, I'm worshiping. He was like, did you ask me what I want? And I'm like, well, what do you want? He was like, I want you on your knees. So this is, just to paint the picture for you, this is Anthony Edwards standing amongst, like, Bron, Katie, like, These folks are bona fide. They got chips. They got banners. They ain't no scrub. Like, and Anthony, like, doing something that you ain't. So I just get to my knees, and I'm just like, and when I got there, it's almost like a portal opened up, and the Lord started speaking to me. He was like, boy, don't you ever forget. Like, don't you ever get too cool for me. Like, what? No, man. Don't you? No, fam. You forget to worship. I forget how to use you. Like, don't get it twisted. What makes you special is this posture. It ain't your performance. It ain't your eloquent preaching. Oh, you've grown as a preacher. Oh, you recognize now. That ain't what I look at. I don't see trophies. I could care less. I walk on gold. The thing that you posting about, I walk on, fam. It ain't nothing to me. So like, don't get it bent and don't forget. And not in like a Tupac way, you know what I mean? But really in like a loving father, like, nah.
You know what we do.
Yeah, man. Like, I want the real you. I don't want all the other stuff. And so it is I say that to say, like, I'm not superhuman. I have moments where, whether it's because of a setting or it's because of a season or it's because of pressure or it's because of stress, where I may, downshift to like chill. And then God, in his graciousness, is quick to remind me that, like, you never graduate worship. And one of the things that fuel that is memory. Yeah. So don't forget.
You mentioned, and it's really one of the first, I don't want to assume that everybody watching this knows your testimony from when you were young and what God did and how your mother prayed you literally back to life. I remember hearing it early on when I first met you. I don't want to assume that everybody watching it already knows that. Can you talk about what that was? Because I do think that that's a pivotal part of your ability to remember. Yeah. Like, your whole life has been remembering and knowing God to be miraculous.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was 4 years old. We were living in Germany, and I fell 4 floors out of a window over there. And my mother came, and they told her I was dead. And doctors that came out there, they couldn't resuscitate me, so they pronounced me dead on the spot. And my mother, she picked up my lifeless body and just started screaming, Jesus, Jesus, blood of Jesus. And miraculously, God gave me back, my life. And as they kept me in the hospital for a few days. As we were leaving, I told her, I was like, I have to tell you what happened. And I told her I remember falling, but I never hit the ground. Right before I was about to hit the ground, there was a man with a big hand that caught me. It's the best way I could describe the encounter. And I told her I couldn't see his face, but I heard a voice. And it said, do you want to come home with me or go with your mom? And I was like, I want my mom. And he was like, okay, next time you'll come with me. And so that's when I was 4. And when we talk about, remembering, people ask me often, like, do you remember that encounter? And the truth is, no, just like glimpses, barely. I'm 4, I'm 41 now, so that's 37 years ago. However, my mother didn't allow me to forget. She just always talked about it. Always. She still talk about it. If my mom is preaching a sermon, she's still going to talk about it. My mom, I came up in like the 90s, so it was testimony. We just get embarrassed at every church we go to. She'll just pop up and be like, I got something to tell. Stand up. Yeah, just like pop up one of them old songs, put your time in, payday coming out the while, and then testify. So I never... And again, but it built in me a knowing, like, I know God is real. It's not a question about it. Like, I know he's real, and I just want to please him with the life I have,
It's incredible. That's amazing. Yeah, I was thinking even about when you mentioned about Moses telling Joshua, I think he even says it this way, to remember. He says to remember. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I kind of feel like just even the way that some of the stories you're telling, like about Jace, even the church, I feel like there is an invitation for the miraculous on your life. I don't know if you feel that way, if you sense that. Like, maybe talk about just how you're remembering, but also your relationship and history with God, like, invites miracles. Because I feel like every time there's something amazing that's like, God did this in your life.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk about that.
Well, the funny thing about miracles, man, is that miracles are only exciting when they happen. The deliverance, deliverance isn't something that you look forward to unless you're bound, So the prereq to a miracle is a desperate situation. And I think that's more the marker. I've been in a lot of just dire situations where it's like, God, if you don't come through, we short. But what that does to your faith is that you see a consistent pattern of him coming through. But I don't want to miss that there are times that God does not do it the way you want. Because, again, I think we probably keep referring to this, what Norman said. If you get to a head of the story, you'll just miss key ingredients. And the reality of my story, much like everyone else's story, is that there were outcomes, even in the need of miracles, that I didn't get. Prime example, a year after I'm prayed back to life, my father at the age of 28, I'm 5 then, has an aneurysm on a Sunday morning. That's it. And the devil taunts my mom and says, where's that power now? You're able to pray your son back to life, and look at your husband laying there, lifeless. Look at him. They're going to pull the plug. This is it. Where's your God? And I'm 5 years old. I had a funeral for my dad, watching him go 6 feet in the ground. And, after Jace, Jace, victory. The next baby after Jace, we lost in a miscarriage. It wasn't full term, but, she miscarried. And so, there are seasons in your life. I think the full story is that there are mountains and valleys. There are victories, and there are hard seasons, man. I don't want to call them losses or defeats. I think that's giving the enemy too much credit. But I think there are some hard seasons. There are valleys. There are things which you don't get the outcome you desired. And so that's also matures your faith to understand that even if God doesn't do it the way you want him to, that doesn't change the consistency of his character. God is God. God is God, Joe. If everybody in your family die, he's still God. If you lose your crib and everything in a hurricane and your flesh fall from your bones, he's still God. And he doesn't owe you anything.
Right.
God owes no man nothing.
Not even an explanation.
Not even an explanation.
Yeah.
He don't owe you your next breath. He don't owe you the health of your family or you. He don't owe you gasoline in your car. God don't owe you nothing because he's sovereign. He's self-sufficient. He existed before we were here. He's going to exist when he's going, where we're going. He's God. And so I think that's a very important thing to learn, especially in this generation that want a TikTok microwave God, that just want a quick, and then we get so, and what happens is, the danger in that is that you're one disappointment away from turning your back.
Yep.
You're one, my granddaddy didn't make it. I ain't never going back. I lost a job. God must not be real. He broke my heart. God must not be real. It's like, no, he's God, right? Life happens. And I think it's something that I had to learn, and I learned very quickly at an early age, that life happens. I'm not guaranteed anything. Be grateful for every little thing. Be grateful for every day. Man, you get to look at an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. Your dad never did.
Wow.
He never got to see you at that age. My baby is about to turn 6 in 2 months. I got to experience his whole kindergarten. My dad was going before I started kindergarten. So not taking life for granted. And I feel like many of us treat life like we treat it so casual. Like we know, it's gonna be there, and we know. I just know my mama gonna be there. Do I? I just know this gonna last. Is it? So it's really man, taking appreciation, having gratitude in your heart, enjoying what God does decide to bless you with. But, it's okay to have things. It's not okay for things to have you. And the only proof that it doesn't have you is your willingness to lay it on the altar. Continue to be generous, continue to be open, and just continue to want to please him. I think is our greatest gift to God.
Something you're talking about is really mature for a lot of, especially, I say Mav type viewers. You got a lot of people that are what we would consider newer in the faith. And the concepts and even the level of faith and things we're talking is very mature. You have people that say things like, and whatever my sister's gay, God can't hate gay. I can't believe he would hate gay people. Or my brother died in a car accident. There's no way God is real. And it's these simple things, just these humanistic ways of viewing God. And one of the things I learned when I first started attending Ford City, it was just something I always reconcile. I always wrestle with was, in all things give thanks. All things, and how we define good isn't the way God defines good. we would look at the Jay situation and say that was good, and the miscarriage and say it was bad, but both were good to God.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like hard to sit here and say, like, as a woman watching this and she's being, what do you mean my miscarriage was good? Like, how would you explain that? You get what I'm saying? Like, how would it's a woman, there's someone watching this whose sibling struggles or whatever, and we don't give thanks for the struggle. We give thanks for the redemption, the overcome, or the lack of, because there's a journey. There's something that takes place. Explain that to us.
Yeah, that's great. Great question. Yeah, I agree. We're not good enough to define good, first of all. Good is not a word like to describe, good is not like a characteristic of God. He is good. Like that is who he is. Right? It's like trying to rip my manhood from me and say, well, you like a man. No, I'm a man. Right? Like you kind of good. No, I'm good. Like
I am what good is.
Yeah, I am what good is. I was reading. We're going through our Bible series at the church, but we're calling it red letters because we're specifically talking about things that words that the word said, things that Jesus said. And I was reading through Luke, and it was so funny to me. He was walking, and he's on his way to Calvary, and they get this guy to help him carry the cross. And as he's carrying it, and I saw other times where he would quote Old Testament, but I don't know how I missed this. He's beat up, he got beat. He's not even recognizable as a human. You're talking about injustice. He's headed up to Calvary. The Bible says in Luke, there's some weeping women, and he turns to them and starts quoting Hosea. He quotes a passage from Hosea. And it's like, first of all, the only thing I know about Hosea is Gomer, his wife. I don't know one verse from Hosea. I cannot quote one. I know who he was, but I can't quote nothing from the prophet Hosea. Jesus turns and starts quoting beat up
at a time like this.
You want to talk about Hosea? Right. And I was reading the Bible, and when I read the Bible, I'm prayerful, and so I'm kind of conversing, in my spirit with God. And I'm like, this is like Jesus is really like full of the word, and I really felt like almost like. I know he didn't, but it felt like God almost wanted to like backhand slap me. Like, what do you mean he's full of it? Like, right. He is the word. Like he literally said in John 1, in the beginning was the word was with God. The word was God. Like the only thing that could come out of him is what he already is. And so when you talk about goodness, that's who God is. Like it is literally, he breathes goodness. He is goodness. He is good. And so the thing about sorrow or the thing about grief, it's not an indictment on his goodness. It's the fact that we're in a broken world. And if you want to get mad at anybody, don't get mad at God. Get mad at Adam and Eve. Like, if you want to slap anybody, you can pimp slap them in heaven. They done messed everything up. Like, there would be no miscarriage. There would be no, no sudden deaths. There would be no cancer. There would be no heartache. It wasn't for these bobo heads eating the fruit, having a conversation with a snake. Like, what a loser, right? So it's like, if you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at your great to the millions grandparents, because they don't want to mess this up. First of all. The other thing is that God is so good. He's too good to cause evil. So he doesn't cause bad things to happen, but he's so good that he can use bad things. And that's the beauty and the sovereignty of God. Paul wrote in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So if you love the Lord and you're walking out the purposes of God in your life, then even the bad things that happen to you, even your regrets, even the lowest moments, has to somehow in God's infinite ability and wisdom work together in your life for good. And that's just my trust and belief. There are a lot of things that happen. There are a lot of funerals I attended. There are a lot of heartbreaks. There are a lot of hospital visits where it's like, man, dang, this doesn't feel right. Or this just feels wrong. Or why him? Why he had to get in a motorcycle crash? Why Shiz had to get in this car accident, man? Like, it's a lot of horrible people out here. Shiz is like the greatest person in the world. Right. Like, why is our friend going? And then you just have to remind your soul that, no, God ain't the one who made this driver hit him, but God is going to use the story of his life, and he's going to bless his offspring and Jet and April, and God's going to still work this thing together for good somehow. And we're not smart enough to know how he's going to do it.
That's right. Yeah, you said something even that stood out to me. It was, you said you learned who God is not when the miracle happened with Jace, but during the times that you were going to the hospital and doing the bands.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very important distinction. Not on the other side of the victory, but through the trial on the way.
Life is not about the other side, man.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. There's
I don't like it.
the
I don't like that.
Yeah, the first 5 books are not about the other side.
Yeah.
Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy are all about the journey, right? And that tells you a lot, that how I handle the wilderness matters more than how I handle the promised land. Right? Of course you're going to turn up when you get the outcome you want. Of course, everybody celebrates at graduation. Who doesn't have fun at the honeymoon? You know, did your engagement please God? Right? Of course, if when you get the x-ray, you know, in your favor, yeah, you're going to come to church and testify. But do you have a praise when every time you go, you get a report you don't want? You know, because that's what we were faced with in the hospital. We kept getting reports that we didn't want. We had naysayers. We had doctors that was like, yeah, I know. We had nurses who the doctors were trying to tell them, hey, don't do that wristband thing because you're giving them hope. And y'all know this baby ain't going to make it. That's an actual true story.
No way.
So yeah, man, I could sing in front of thousands made a way. Now, I think when it meant more to God is when I was singing it with a guitar to just my wife and trusting him. Like that's real worship, the journey, the dash in, you know, on your tombstone. That's where it really matters. I think it matters. I think true character is not just revealed on the mountain, but in the valley. Let me say it even better. I think it is revealed on the mountain. I think it's developed in the valley. And if you skip the valley, that's going to, you know, your character is going to take, you know, your gift is going to take you somewhere your character can't keep you. So I think the valley is just important. I think it's where we meet God. I think it's where we strengthen our faith. And I think it's where he really develops something in us that'll last.
I think that's that maturity piece too. And I remember just the trajectory of your career in music and the shift into pastoring and acknowledging just what felt like a weight to me, not like a heaviness, but just like a gravity, a sobriety that I saw on you. And it wasn't that you hadn't been that before, but it was just Travis is different now. And it's easy to say, oh, because he's a pastor now. It wasn't that though. And now I have language for it, even in having this conversation. It's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, it was matured. But and I think for a lot of believers, and Norman mentioned like the audience of, you know, that might be watching this that are newer in their faith are still developing in that way. You know, it's like, you know, the Hebrew boys went into the furnace and they said, hey, God's going to deliver us, but even if he doesn't. And I even in my own faith often struggle with that. Like, it's like, no, God's going to deliver me. And if he doesn't, then I don't know about God. But that's not what they said. Even if he doesn't, we still won't bow down to you. And we still are going to believe that. And that comes from a conviction that I think is a gift from God. It's the grace of God to have it, but it's something to fight for. It is a conviction to fight for. So when you say like the children of Israel walking through the Red Sea, yeah, Egypt was right behind them. They weren't rejoicing yet because for all they knew, the waters had parted and now they're going to get to come through too. They had no idea that he was going to crash the water in over the enemy. All they knew was a natural phenomenon is happening. We better run and try to stay ahead of them. But you don't know what God's provision is going to look like or his goodness in that moment is going to look like. And I think there's just such a beautiful faith maturing component to that like, hey, it's okay to acknowledge I don't know. I don't know what this is going to turn out to be, but once you realize that you're on the other side, to say God's going to come through, but even if he doesn't. And I think that's just, I'm always striving to be in that place. It seems like you're so there, you know.
I think the beautiful thing that you're saying even there, that I mean, you said it, but in the fullness of what you said, they didn't even know the water was going to stay up.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, as you're going, you know, he let you through, but they don't even know that it's going to stay up. And I think many of us wrestle, Kurt called it the tension. Many of us wrestle in that tension of knowing.
That's right.
You know, and not knowing or desiring and doing what we don't desire. And I think the beauty of what we're discussing now is, he really just said it, it's that the integrity you need is made in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not made in the valley, what you are will be exposed on the mountaintop.
I think they feed each other, right? In my personal opinion, and this is not linear. I mean, this thing right here is
very nuanced.
Good God Almighty! I mean, you could go. There's 20 different. There's an hour conversation per denomination about what has attributed to this mess. I think one of the things is I think it's again, I'm talking about the black context. I think, man, we've done a disservice by not raising our kids in church, by not teaching them the ways of God, by not living a consistent life as best as we can. You know, the perfection is out of reach, but I think consistency is attainable, and we haven't done that. We told them one thing, but we do another one. Yeah. We tell our daughters, you know, hey, save yourself to marriage, but, you know, as a single mom, everybody, her uncle coming through every other week, spending the night. So, you know, I think our inconsistencies have helped to create this thing, this narrative in their mind that surely that can't be real, because I haven't seen an example. Yeah. And whenever I have heard anything that countered the faith I have, I'm surrounded. I'm blessed, and I hear what you're saying. There's a generation that don't have that testimony. But I have so many examples around me, the way I was raised, that any excuse for rebellion was eliminated at a very early age, because I saw the hand of God and I saw consistency being displayed. I think what has happened, to his point, when you talk about success and money, I think that definitely has deflated our desperation, and desperation is a reminder of your need for God. But I think another thing that is very critical that's happened, and this dawned on me, I'm doing a dissertation on it's a very interesting subject, but the actual subject is church leaders, the perception of church leaders regarding the impact of clergy infidelity. Right.
Yeah, I think I saw.
And so it's regarding clergy infidelity, and how it's affected church growth, commitment, trust, church metrics, right? Congregational trust, but specifically through the lens of church leaders who witnessed clergy infidelity. Wow. Now, one of the things, and I bring that up because one of the things that was brought up that was very interesting is the guy said in the church he was in that when the pastor fell in infidelity, he said it had two different levels of impact, right? He said the older people were more forgiving. The older people were like, yeah, man, you know, he messed up. That's still our man of God. I hope he get better. You know, I hope he, you know, take a couple weeks and come on back to the pulpit. The younger people was like, yo, I don't want to do with God.
Wow.
Right? And so I share that as an example.
Say it again.
The younger people was like, I don't want anything to do with God.
Got it.
If this is what God is about, I'm good.
Got it.
Older people was like, and I think there's several things that speak to that. I think one, older people have history with God, have their own relationship with God. So the fragility of a man is not going to change that. Now, young people don't have that context. But I think another thing that is even more important is that the young mind is still being formed. And it's still inquisitive, and it's still being shaped. So what I see, I believe, and what I believe becomes my reality. Right. And I think that's one of the things we're facing, even in addition to success and money and this and that in our community. We also just have not seen, we haven't seen great models, man. We haven't seen great models. We haven't.
Have the models actually changed, or has information become more plentiful?
The models have completely changed.
Expound on it.
Yeah, the hero, the only person who mattered in the black community civil rights was preachers and barbers.
Okay.
You know, coming out of slavery. You know, in slavery, the preacher was the only one who could read, so he was the only person of actual status. You come into civil rights, it was the barber, the preacher, and then you have some people who broke through your Sam Cooks of the world. You know,
I understand.
So, but it wasn't. How. And I'm not. This is not a knock against hip hop. I actually am a big fan of. I love Outkast. That was my boy. You know, back in the day.
He doesn't know any hip hop artists.
I know Outkast. I don't know any current.
I was wondering who he was going to say. So when he said Outkast, I was a little.
I don't know
shocked.
any current. I don't know any current. I met the baby 2 weeks ago at a basketball game, And I walked up to, we got introduced, and I was like, cool, man, great to meet you. I was literally about to say, my boys love the song you did on Space Jam.
That's Lil Baby.
Yeah, I found that out. So I'm so glad I didn't say that. I had no clue.
Same last name, baby.
Yeah, I have no idea who no one is. It could be
Lil
a
Baby
famous
Kirk.
one of these guys could be a famous rapper. I would have no idea. I don't. But I'm saying that to say I'm not discrediting. People, whatever their thing is. And there was a season of my life where I did consume. I actually did consume all the Georgia Boys. But what I'm saying is now the role models have changed. Back then there was and I'm not. I want y'all to hear me correctly. I'm not saying preachers are all that matters.
Right,
I don't want this to be taken out of context. All barbers, all that matters. But I am saying there was a level of etiquette. There was a level of
Black
sophistication, black success of like, man, I want to carry a briefcase one day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I want to own my own car. I want to, so that is going. So now the average child in the school, there's only two things that look successful.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron
Yep.
or the baby. There ain't no in between. Them my only two references for success. As I'm a female, it is Nicki Minaj or it is, whatever. And these are only, so now because of media and social, whatever, and I'm not knocking none of these people. God bless them all. But I'm just saying, if that's my aim and these lyrics are my education, then I think that this is the path forward. And this is the only thing I'm consuming, and it completely shapes my world and my reality, even if it's not my reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
good.
I think that's another thing that has just happened, So everybody trying to be something because they think this is the only path to success.
We talked about that on a couple episodes, like the personification of black wealth
Mm-hmm.
and how it shapes and molds the minds of people. Like, we was talking about like at the I seen my nephews that came out to my daughter's birthday. Now they wear like little chains, right? And my best friend Kobe, his son, he had like a chain that he got off Amazon. It's like you're talking about affluent kids, suburbs, parents doing well, and they want to wear chains. And it's just like it's not. I think as we continue to matriculate and become successful, being true to the things that we embody, like being a pastor wearing a chain don't mean nothing. It's a way of expressing who we are, and it's our culture, and that's not a negative thing. And I think that we would be remiss to not give that example from various verticals. Like a pastor doing it, a ministry leader doing it, a basketball player doing it. It allows it to become normalized in our culture so that it doesn't shape the way a young black man is viewed in a negative light simply because of some stereotype someone sees associated with a particular profession.
And I think that's why the onus is on us.
Yes.
And I'm doing something active, but I mean actively, and this goes beyond social media. I'm actively, and I haven't done it enough, so I literally got a text about it yesterday. But I think last week I went to a middle school in the city and talked, and then my assistant was like, "Oh my God, now people done seen the post. They're blowing up. Every school in Columbia wants to come by. How many are you willing to do?" And I was like, "As many as my schedule will allow." And in the past, I would be like, I don't really want to,
I did it.
I did it. Yeah, it's been
good.
done.
Yeah.
But I have a burden, and when I was in front of those kids, majority of them, either black or Hispanic. Now I'm in front of these kids, and the I don't want to be explicit because someone may watch, but one of the kids was supposed to be in leadership role at the school, and the thing and the clothes that the kid had on, I was just like, man, so it just told me what the environment was that they were in, and then me just thinking, I don't see myself as people see me, and I think that's a good thing. And those who know me close know that about me. I literally forget until somebody. I'm still shocked when people walk up to me in the airport, and I'm just like, "Who, me?" Like, "Oh, hey, you want a picture? Okay." Right. I'm still not, even after all these years, I'm not used to it. So I forget how me coming to that school, like. It is, and one of the teachers told me, they're like, this is the closest taste they're going to get up. Like, they've never been out of the city. You know, so the kids are like, what car you drove here?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I happen to have some spare shoes in my car. I was like, what size you wear? I gave some shoes away. But they just like, oh, what? How much that necklace cost? Who all famous in your phone? You know, like, you know, but they just pumped up because and the reason I'm sharing this is because, and the reason why I say it's on us is because we have to redefine the ways to success, the ways to being able to provide for your family or to build a future or to have legacy, or their only model is literally what they see on YouTube. So if I line all those kids up literally and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? None of them will want to work in a service job. None of them occupation. No way. Ain't not one of them about to say nurse. Ain't not one of them gonna say I want to be a anything that can add value to a community. Everybody rapper hooper. Period. And they in 8th grade. You in 8th grade. Yeah. In 8th grade, you know if you're going pro or not. Yeah. Somebody told you by now. That's it's 2025. They told you in 6th grade.
You're either tall enough or you're not going to be there. Right.
Somebody told you already. So, but anyway, yeah, I think that's our responsibility to help show them a different way.
I mean, we have to know it's a real reality. My son want to play basketball. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what he want to do today.
Right now, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do your boys want to do?
Well, Gabe wants to be an Egyptologist.
Of course he does. Gabriel.
No, he wants to. Yeah, he wants to dig up things in Egypt badly. Like he badly wants to go and like discover like more mummies.
Them nerd genes are crazy strong.
It's really like, they're really strong.
Them doggone nerd genes is crazy.
Well, you know, because Janice and I met at a math and science summer camp, so you were gonna be doing this. Like, I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah. I found my calling, Dad.
I found him a shirt that says "Future Egyptologist." And he wore it yesterday around the house.
I love
what he changed into.
Wow!
But to that point,
how old is he?
He's 8. That's like, he just thinks that's what, I'm going to go and dig things in Egypt. And he wants to go to Egypt badly. Like, can we go to Egypt? But it's to that point, it's what you see.
Yeah.
You know, he was watching YouTube videos of the Great Pyramids, understanding that, you know, the engineering of them and the construct of them was a wonder. Like, that we don't know how that happened without the machinery that we have today. And he was fascinated by that, like, at age 4. So because he was rehearsing that and seeing that, and then, you know, there would be someone popping up saying, I'm an archaeologist. He's like, okay, well, that's an option. But I think for a lot of people, especially like you're talking about going to schools, if all they see are certain things, those are the only options. And the mind can only dream what it has an idea that exists.
Wow, it's true.
And so I think the more, to your point, that we start to see things. I remember when I was younger, hearing about Ken Chenault and him being a CEO at American Express. And I thought, I didn't know that a black man could do that.
Wow.
I didn't know that a black man could ever be a CEO of American Express. So add that to the list if I want to.
Wow.
Or Barack Obama, you know, people were always, well, what does it mean? It means, like, you don't know what it means because you've never not had the option. This was the first time that even I, as a graduate of a law school working on Wall Street in New York City, ever thought that I could even be accomplished enough to be a president. Because how could that ever have happened with my skin color? That was always the message, was that is a barrier and restriction. So your dreams can only go to exit 4.
Wow. Jeez.
You can't complete the road trip.
Jeez.
And so when people say like, well, why is this about race? It's like, it's not even about race. Like, just because things have racial implications or cultural implications don't make them about race.
Yeah.
That's too easy for it to be lumped in that way. It has to be the nuance of it, which is, man, your cultural dynamic is such that you either saw things or didn't see things, and that has either propelled you or restricted you.
That's literally probably the driving, like, part or point of me even getting a PhD. It's the only reason I'm doing it. I was asked, it was like, Trav, like, you don't need, like, it's not going to change your life. It's not like it's going to add another opportunity to, you know, or whatever. And it's literally 120%. The only reason I'm doing it is representation.
I thought
because I want to have
to be called Dr. Greene.
No, I'll never want to be called that. I actually never want to be addressed.
What I'm calling you.
Yeah,
There's only one doctor.
There's only one doctor.
Only one doctor.
She's a real doctor. And I never actually want to be addressed as Dr. Travis Greene. It will make me like, even if people did it like in a, no, I'm still PT at church. Yeah. I'm still Trav around the boys. I don't want to be addressed by it. I just want the kids to know it's possible to have colored hair, to wear J's, to have a nice watch, and to have a PhD.
I think that's the leadership piece you're talking about. Noah.
Always.
That doesn't exist as much anymore. We don't have people who will take on a burden just to show the future generation is possible.
That's how we got here, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's how we got here. People took on burdens on our behalf. So I don't know if y'all saw the clip of Flo J, Flon J. Sorry for pronouncing your name. She plays for LSU, has a podcast, really dope. But she gave up her seat on the plane to an elderly African American woman, and it came to be that the African American woman was a political activist for equal representation for female athletes.
Wow. What?
Yes, literally. And the woman came back. She said, brings me to tears to remember I fought for her to have the opportunity she has right now. She gave her seat up for me.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's beautiful, man.
That literally just happened. I think we forget that sometimes. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the way on, along our journey in this music thing, a lot of the backlash we received was from not respecting the past.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not, they dissed us, so we dissed back. They didn't and I think sometimes you forget the thing you said. Like, it didn't matter what your elder said to you.
Right.
You had to show them respect. You just said, they don't understand what they're talking about. But you sat there, you listened.
You mumbled it.
And there's a level of arrogance that has come into the next generation. And also there's a level of arrogance you take on once you've become successful.
That's right.
And I think there's an air of humility and meekness that we're all responsible for arcing back to make sure that we get back to the place to where the gospel is at the center. And it's community. And I talked about this on one of them where I said, what we've lost is that Christianity used to be an ethnicity in our community. People always say, what do you mean Black American culture? Black American culture used to be Christianity.
Yeah, it's just a church.
It used to be Christianity. And you said, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean by that. You respected your elders. It was yes, sir. Yes, man.
And I go to the side and drink the Budweiser, and I go to the other side and smoke. You go behind the tree. Everybody know what those four cousins doing over there with the weed. Everybody know what your uncle's doing over there. But you ain't about to be on grandma porch with neither one of them.
Absolutely.
Right.
That was a level. That was a respect. That was an
now
honor.
grandma there rolling up.
That was an honor. That was a reverence.
Yeah.
There was a appreciation. There was prayer before everything. You was going to church whether you wanted to or not. You was getting on that van. That is what it was. Our ethnicity was Christianity.
Yeah.
And
Very true.
as we got more educated, as we got more well off, as we were no longer as desperate, as we were whatever the case, as we began to have children younger and out of wedlock and whatever these things were, we lost that ethnicity.
With that needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah. And I think we're missing accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big part when you talk about the community element. Like, we belonged to one another as a people.
Yes.
The person down the street had the authority that she had in your life.
Absolutely.
Just because y'all lived down the street.
Absolutely.
So get in the house. Like,
Absolutely.
that was enough. And everyone was an auntie or a missus or a ma'am or a sir because we belong to one another. And there was a sense that we do. We don't have that as much anymore. It's kind of like, who's going to check me? I get to, chart my own course, be my own person. You don't get to tell me what to do. But there was a time where, and I think largely in the civil rights era especially, where they needed one another. Like, we needed to be together because we needed to watch each other's back. We needed to be able to look down the street and know we belong to one another. What's going to happen to you is going to happen to me. What burns over there is going to burn down here soon. And so I just think we've lost that sense of belonging to one another as a community too.
Us not being at the house and us not being in the community has definitely hurt us in a major, major way, because that is the example, especially for the up and coming Black man. It's an example of how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
It's an example of being a gentleman.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the men were faithful. Even some of our heroes weren't faithful, right? That's like, but there was a level of respect that was still there. You know what I mean? There was a teaching. I just remember growing up in church. There were little things that they would teach us, that like, hey, you open that door for that woman, or you know, you give her your seat, or just those little things that, man, these kids never even
heard before.
Fam, they never, and it's foreign. Like, what do you mean?
We was talking about this earlier about Kurt was talking about his story of how he grew up without a dad. You know, you and I was very similar. Dad, you had a dad for a few years. I had a dad for a few years. You know, bless brother y'all. But JJ and EJ, they both grew up with their dads the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, both of them, two-parent households. And just the uniqueness of that.
That makes a difference.
Unique, but you can see it in them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can see it.
I know. I'm like, what do we do?
Yeah, it's a certainty.
Your son wants to be an
Yeah.
Egyptologist. That's the difference.
That's why.
No, you can see them. There's just a difference. There's a calmness, there's a meekness, there's a sureness in the identity when you grow up in the house with a father.
It's a softness. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it's like,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And as we're talking, I was thinking about the things that could change of all the things we're talking about. Like, I don't think we'll ever go back to the time of being a one community.
That's right.
America's become too diverse. It's too bifurcated. We're spread across a lot of ideals. I don't think. I hope God sends a revival so powerful that we go back to 93% of our nation considering themselves Christian. Statistically, the chances of that are just very low. But I pray and I hope that happens. The one thing that could change, and that we have, the wherewithal and motivation and ability to influence directly, is men being back in house. And you're seeing a increase in that more. You know, the rate of single motherhood is decreasing. The rate of marriage is beginning to increase again. Like, all of these things are beginning to swing the other way on the pendulum. And I think a lot of that has to do with media is covering. I do believe a lot had to do with Barack and Michelle getting elected and seeing a black family. You know, I do believe a lot had that to do with Kamala being elected. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. You got to see certain representation. Those things define a country.
For sure.
They define a country. They define LeBron being married and faithful.
Yep.
But, whatever the case with those examples, Steph Curry's of the world, there's a lot of examples of successful couples that our youth get to see modeled out in life. And I do believe that has a positive impact on what we see today.
Massive. The Huxtables, Family Matters, God bless his soul. But the Huxtables, Family Matters, like these shows, Fresh Prince were massive to our community.
Yep.
The one thing, the Huxtables was the first black couple that you saw. It was successful. Every other black couple was coming up. Rough Side, 227, barely making it, Hood, like Sanford & Sons, Pole, selling some stuff out their backyard. Like the Huxtables was like, no, we're actual professionals. And that's the one great thing Cosby did do for our community was they displayed something that our eyes have never. We didn't know was possible, And then you think about new generation. What's been their model up until? I love the examples you gave, but man, that the gap leading up to that, and even after that, is, and I don't want to. I know we're connected to a lot of people, so I'm not trying to blast anything. But some of the TV shows that just show, women wilding, and that's supposed to be cool, or show men dogging women, and that's supposed to be cool. But another thing about Christianity is what has always fueled Christianity the most is persecution.
That's right. That's literally how it started spreading.
Period.
Yeah. When I think biblical persecution, that's, I think, what
getting fed the line.
I think the closest parallel is like real. You put your life on the line, not livelihood, but your actual life.
Yes.
And I think
Not
now
getting
that's not to
canceled.
say that
Not getting canceled, getting killed.
right.
Yeah.
But I do think a time is coming. Like, do be clear, in our Western cozy society, I do believe that a time could come where we face that level of biblical persecution. And it may not be in an organized way, but it may be a little bit more understood, a little bit more understandable, because as you're starting to see the political space creating tension and really continuing to fuel tension between this kind of conservative Christian right and the liberal left. You know, it's like, yeah, all it's going to take is a match at some point. And persecution is going to look way different in the United States than it ever did.
I think the match has been lit. I think if you evaluate the last election, you see a rejection of a move toward leftward politics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And America saying, bro, this is a Christian nation.
Yeah.
And if this the Negro, and it's almost like, you know, I use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. If this is who I got to use to bring it back, or I'm not saying, I don't know, and I ain't going to get all into no dilly-dally dance or whatever, or who right, who wrong, who up, who down. I ain't doing all of that. But I can say fervently, you look at the exit polls, you look at all of that, and this ain't no political podcast, but the data is data.
Yeah.
And you can argue with the data all you want. America said we want to go way further back to where we were than where we were headed. And I think that has a lot to do with a move away from Christian ideals. And they wanted to move back to them. And I'm not saying this president going to take us back. I'm not saying the other president wouldn't have taken us back. What I am saying is that down ballot, America said we want to go back towards ideals of family, Christian community, Christianity, and these things, and not towards me. You know what I mean? My identity is this. It was more we. That's how I saw it.
That's good.
Yeah. We don't have to park here long, but I do want you to tell us a little bit about the church for City.
Of course, we gotta get back on to it. I
know.
don't know how we got on this point. I don't know how we got on
Good
this.
to talk about being
We can go anywhere.
I was literally thinking we having a whole. I said of all the ways this podcast was gonna be shaped, I would have never guessed we would have got in here and talk. But you put 4 black men together, that are intelligent.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the way it impacts our
what
lives.
affects us.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but just
want to
quickly.
hit the book.
Yeah.
Want to hit the church.
Yeah.
Want to hit the upcoming music. Want to hit all the firebrand things that we need to hit.
Yeah, church is vibrant. It's going great, man. Pastoring is interesting. Our church is called Forward City. Our church is called Forward City, and it's in Columbia, South Carolina, and we're enjoying it though. You know, it's not easy.
I heard someone say he was giving an intro. He goes, "I've been a pastor for 10 years, which means someone's been mad at me for 10 years."
Do you have people mad at you all the time?
What? Yes, absolutely.
Tell me this though, and this is so. As a pastor, what are they mad about? Are they mad about the things that you do say, or the things that you didn't say from the pulpit?
I rarely get a lot of. If anyone gets upset with me, it's probably not something I said on the pulpit. I'm very clear, and I try to be very Holy Spirit led when I'm up there. I don't play around with God's mic, so I'm not about to be super cavalier. I joke a lot, so I make a lot of jokes. You know, I make a lot of racial jokes, political jokes, any kind of joke. You know, it's going to be 10% comedy special every time. That's my preaching style. So that's going to happen. But as far as like, I don't think a lot of people get offended with stuff that I say across the pulpit. Because even if I say something strong, I wrap it in compassion. I think if people get upset, they may with kind of leadership decisions that they don't have full context for. It's probably where more people, if any, get upset. But we're talking 1 out of 1,000 might get an attitude. So it ain't the masses.
What do you feel has helped grow your leadership as a pastor the most? Like what part of pastoring or leading, whether it be staff, whether it be, just going through the process, whether it be new expansion, what has grown you as a leader?
Betrayal has grown me the most.
Wow.
Ingratitude from people have grown me the most. I think it's taught me and just it taught me that people gonna be people and their response is not my responsibility. I think early on I put a pressure on myself of almost wanting to be a puppeteer, I guess, in a sense of like, well, this equals this, so this should get this response. And it's like people are like, no, I'm not Pinocchio. I don't have to be grateful. You know what I mean? Like,
I preached this. You should be doing it.
yeah,
now.
I don't have to say thank you. As a matter of fact, I can be who I want to be and sleep who I want to sleep and forget you.
Wow.
So, that's just a part of it, though. You get, I think pastors are easy scapegoats for life hardships. So it's like, if your husband cheat on you, it's the pastor's fault. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't cheat on me if he wasn't on security at the church. What? Like, what I got to do with it? You know what I mean? Like, so you get some of that too. It's just an easy out for a lot of life's difficulties for people. So you got to be strong, and you can't. I think another thing I've learned, Norm, is not to take things personal. And it's something I teach even the pastors who reach out to me rather. Is don't take it personal. Like, don't take people's exit personal. Don't take people's offense personal. You got to really stay balanced in understanding that people are gonna be people, and love who's there. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to don't hold someone else's record against the next person. It's the baby mama who mad at the new daddy, because it's like, well, Terrence was a dog, you a dog too. So you got to fight that. You got to fight that urge to not trust people because the last person you trust, did you wrong. So it's all of those things. But at the same time, there's nothing more rewarding. For me personally, it's nothing more rewarding than hearing, our church sing our original music, and nothing more rewarding than seeing people get baptized. And our last baptism, man, we did 200 3 weeks ago, and I would say a massive portion of them, probably a fourth, if not more, probably a third of them, looked like they probably, had at least in some point in their life an alternative, or alternate lifestyle, or some type of identity, battle. At least a third of them. So that's beautiful, man. And crying, and it's not me to judge their progress, but God is doing something. Yeah. God is doing something, and it's dedication. I actually want to please God. And we preach the whole Bible. I ain't no skate around, But I'm also not mean, not harsh. Like, the Bible is true, and Jesus is kind, and He loves you, and there's a way out of this, and let us walk alongside with you. It's more my approach than don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. That ain't me. I'm not gonna preach hate. I'm gonna preach love, and it's effective, and people are getting saved and baptized and connected. So yeah.
I do want to. I'd be remiss if we didn't at least quickly talk about. And you kind of know this, but like, a lot of the people that have been a part of Maverick or currently a part of Maverick got their start, with doing ministry with you. And so I'd love to talk about that. Because I kind of felt like what the beginning of Maverick is a display of a lot of the work and ministry and input that you put into their lives. The Chandlers, the Dantes, the Aarons even. So maybe just talk about just the influence that you've had on the younger generation when it comes to worship leading, and just some of your hopes and desires there.
Yeah, man, I think for me, the way I came up, I didn't have a lot of looks, right? I just didn't have, there weren't people handing me opportunities, like that. And funny part of my story, me and Molly came up together. So like teenage years, early 20s, both in the same region in Georgia. And so we would be together all the time. He'll come crash, at the house, and we'll work on music and this and that. And then, what's funny is he just took off. He shot off like a rocket. And everybody gave him a look. Everybody. Ty, Kurt, Dietrich. He was everywhere. Everybody had him featured on TBN with him. I think Kirk took him to Potter's house so he could give me that joy. You know what I mean? This is a homie. I'm like, last week he was on my flow. You know what I'm saying? And like, this dude is soaring. You know what I mean? Like, he got the whole world in his hand. Like, everybody's calling him. He's doing every youth conference. He is Canton Jones 2.0, early 2000s. So it's like it's game over. And you know, it was tough for me because you do battle this man wins my turn type of thing. But God, he just slow cooked me. But I just always remember, man, no one really gave me, you know, no, not anybody. I probably wasn't worth the looks. I wasn't ready for them. I probably wasn't talented enough. All those things, you know, is a part of that. So I'm not saying, you know, bump all them. You know, Molly was really, really good. He was vocally more ready than I was. But I do remember how it felt to have a dream and not a lot of help. So it's something I took pride in. I said from the beginning I was gonna do. You know, if you recall, my first 3 records had no A-list features. You know, the first 2 featured Chad, a female, you know, from my area, Laura Wilson. These different people. Zeke featured. Dante, Isaiah Templeton. Now, Dante was a cool story. Dante actually came by my the little place I was staying in Charlotte. He just wanted me to listen to something. And then as he was leaving, or maybe I was in Columbia then, I don't remember. We was in Columbia. He just wanted to stop by. He literally drove up. He just wanted me to hear something he was working on. And actually feature on one of his songs. I forget. Giants. Yeah, Giants Not Dead. Yeah. So he brought it to the house, and I was like, yeah, I'll sing. And so I sung on it. He was so excited. And then he left, and I was working on the second record, I believe it was.
It was crossover.
Crossover, yeah. And I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. He probably sound good on this. I was like, hey, come back. And he was like, what? And I was like, yo, just sing this part down. Let's see how it feels or whatever. And he did a great job, you know. But I'm not saying anything for to look like a whatever, you know. I'm just saying, like, part of that was because, like, I saw myself in them. Yeah. Like, I saw, like, someone on the come up, someone with a gift, and I'm just like, man, well, I got a record deal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm one in a million. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I got EJ number. Ain't nobody else in the state of South Carolina can call EJ Gaines.
It's
you
not
know?
even a thing.
So it's like,
it's not a thing.
You know, so it's like, man, you know what God has, you know, blessed us with. Let's you know, I want to be a door opener, you know, for others. That's literally my name. The name Travis means bridge. You know, it literally means that. It means it came from someone who would stand at the bridge and take tolls and let people cross over. That's what my name literally means, bridge crossover. So for me, like, I'm just kind of living out who I am in that. And I still do it today at different opportunities. That's why I gave the kids looks at, well, they're not kids anymore, but the young adults looks at Forward City. It's the same. It's the same thing. Like, man, I got access. They're gonna have me on the stellar stage, and it's like, yo, all right, I know y'all want me to do this song. Y'all want me up there. You want Kalante. You want Daryl. Cool. I got a song I'm working on. You know, at the church. As a matter of fact, can I share my screen? I literally did this. MJ, let me share my screen real quick. Look at this. We filmed this at my church. It's called Tent Revival. You like it? Yeah, I give you 3 more minutes. You know, cool. I want to put these kids on. Wow. And I literally took, you know, the guys from our church, their first ever red carpet. I mean, they, you know, excited, clothes on, you know, taking pictures, like, and letting them, yo, you come do this interview. It's just a part of, I think, to me, that's more satisfying for me to see other people shine than the hog about the space. So that's really, that was the only thing behind the, you know, those guys that I had the opportunity of being a part of their life.
Let's talk quickly about the book, Are You Praying for the Wrong Thing? And I actually have it here. I don't know if it wasn't you, Blip.
My sister was looking up.
Yeah. Like I love the title of it. Tell me, like, what's it about? What's the inspiration behind it? What's the heart?
Yeah, so the book, Are You Praying for the Wrong Thing, is a very, it's something I'm very proud of, very excited about. It's not a book on prayer, even though prayer is in the title. It's actually a book on stewardship. And one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned, really as a leader, another leadership lesson, is that there have been many seasons in my life that I prayed for things that I wasn't prepared for. And the Lord just taught me I could pray for miracles less if I pray for management more. There's some emergencies that I've had that were avoidable had I stewarded well. And I think there's three levels in walking with God, right? I think the first level is the love zone, right? To be loved by God. And it's something you should never graduate from. Hold it dear to your heart. but also know that he loves everybody. The saint, the sinner, the prostitute, the preacher. It don't matter. He could love everybody. Everybody's a child of his, right? So he loves everybody. The second level that a lot of believers get stuck at is being used by God, right? Where in the Bible, God used an ark. He used a donkey. He used a stone. A cross. Which tells me you don't even have to be human to be used by God. Yeah. And so that's not the ultimate. To be used by God is not the ultimate. It's cool, but he'll use anybody. And so I think that the greatest zone, and this is really what I'm talking about in the book, to graduate to in this Christianity walk is a trust zone. To be trusted by God. To be trusted by God. I love my cousin. I'll use a plumber, but they're not getting my credit card. I gotta trust you. I gotta trust you, man. I mean, you gotta be like in my intimate space. And as I'm walking this thing out with God, there are certain places and certain things. And this is not about just possession, right? Because you can make money without God. You can. So this is not even about. It's not about prosperity preaching, but it is about there are certain things, certain places, certain levels that you can only access with trust. And my brother taught me one of the most valuable lessons. I bring this up all the time. Anybody who knows me has heard this story because I say it probably once a quarter. When he first started working with me, he was like, a lot of people don't know this. Another thing that Norman brought into the space of Christian music as a disruptor was like cameras and social stuff. Yeah. That didn't exist before him. That's right. Not at that level. It didn't. Nobody walked around with cameras in our space. I know because I was in it for a long time. And I was literally, he was looking at my itinerary. He's like, fam, you just sung in front of 10,000. You sung in front of 50,000. And you're about to do a show in front of 800,000 people. He said, bro, you do know nobody going to believe this. I was like, what? I'm doing it. No one. It's like, Travis, listen to me, bro. Listen to me, bro. There's no one on the planet that's going to look your black self in the face and believe that you're singing in front of this amount of people. It's just unheard of. I'm like, we're doing like Africa, we've been global, we've been doing whatever. And he was like, you got to have a camera. And my frugal tell was like, how much that going to cost?
Right.
Like, I'm already paying these musicians. I'm paying these singers. You want me to pay somebody an extra few $100? Like, man, I got a family
and food.
Yeah, I need all these $100 that add up. And the flight.
That's right.
And he was like, bro, just trust me. You got to tell the story. Yeah. It's gonna take you to another, realm, and it did. But in that vein, we was having a conversation one time about doing a music video. It was like, yeah, we need to do this, do that, that. And he don't mind swiping that card. And I was like, fam, man, back then this wasn't no Tribl. This was green. This was green. This was Greenville. It wasn't no Tribl. It wasn't no extracurricular money coming in. This was straight. It was Greens and Jump Fish Incorporated. That's it. So it's like, fam, like, dog, they gonna cost, man. Man. And I was like, bro, it ain't that deep. It's like, it is that deep. And I never forget. It's one of the most valuable lessons. We're going to tie back to the book. He said, I said, man, you know how big Made It Way is? I said, do you know how big it is? Bro, it's this biggest song of our generation. Like, it's a big record, bro. At the time. Like, this is a big, we talking Take Me to the King, Never Would Have Made It. Like, Made It Way is a big record, bro. And I ain't got no music video. Nah. I said that. And then he said, yeah, I think you're missing it. It's not about what you did without the music video. It's about what you missed by not having it.
Wow.
And that philosophy has shifted my thinking in such a way that many times we're counting the wrong thing. We're counting what we were able to do. We're not counting what was left on the table.
Wow.
And so it shifted. So now when I'm approaching strategy meetings, I'm like, no. We got to count what we'll be missing. Mm-hmm. Not what we're spending and not what we gain, but what are you missing out on? That's the actual expense. And so that's what the book is about. It's about, man, I don't want to waste time praying for things that don't matter to God. things that aren't important to him. The Bible says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Mm-hmm. That does not mean he'll give you what you want. It means he'll give you what to want.
Right.
And there's a lot of frustrated Christians that are praying for something that God never promised. That's good, man.
That's good. Our last question to everybody is, in life, in general, What has been your Maverick moment? It's the moment that defines who you are, how you got here, what it's been. What's been your Maverick moment?
That's a loaded question, and it could go several different places. I think.
Well, I was gonna say it's a moment that is outside the box, where you decided to go outside the box. You went against the grain, where you trusted God in a way that maybe you hadn't before in the past. It's like a defining moment that like was
the moment.
Yeah.
It's game 7. 5. You cross over Byron Russell, hit it at the elbow.
Oh man. Probably this is gonna be a curveball, but probably 2013 at John Hanna's church in Chicago. And what happened was I wrote a song called Intentional in rehearsal. Wrote it in rehearsal. Chan's there, everybody's there. We were rehearsing 2013 from my little band in Charlotte. And I loved Romans 8:28. It's been the scripture that has made sense of life to me. That all things work together. So no matter what I face, it's been my constant reminder, man, God has to be working it together for my good. And so I always wanted to do something special with that. I remember Fred did something with it long time ago. We're talking about old Fred. All things are working for me. So I was like, all right, he did something with that song. I want to do something with that song. And I mean, with that verse. I don't know what I want to do. And so I was just messing around in rehearsal and just got into this little groove. And I just literally started singing it. And I'll never forget, I sung it and I sung it through. And it's going through iterations. I think at first, when I first wrote it, it was like, all things are working for my good. He's intentional. I don't think it was never failing. It was like never something else. I don't even know what I was saying. And so the song, but and then I was in a rehearsal about to sing at a church, because we just started singing it at churches. And the part, I don't have to worry because this is working for me, came in the sound check in Baton Rouge for a church service, wow. There. And literally I was like, oh man. And so everywhere we sung it through that whole year, it just went stupid. I mean, we flipped every church this side of the equator. They're smaller churches, but them folks in the small churches was having a good time. They got 150 people. We was flipping them upside down everywhere. Me and Chan, Keith, Tyrone Bell, flipping these churches upside down. And then, so I go to Chicago. Deborah Snoopy Hannah, Snoopy was there. And I had known her from this previous deal that I had when I was just trying to get off the ground. And she's in the back. And it's our first time. I've known her at this point for probably 4 years, three years. And she's in the back. And she's like, Trav, it's Snoopy. And I was like, oh my God. Finally meet you in person. Back then, to meet in person means somebody flew you to meet them in person. You didn't just go to meet people.
And there wasn't no Zoom. So
no, it wasn't no Zoom. And you couldn't afford a flight. So it was just like, they flew me here. I met her. I was like, yo, Snoopy. And, this is me. I was like, yo, I got a song. And she was like, really? I was like, I got a song. I'm telling you, this is it. Like, it was one of those, like, when Smokey wrote My Girl for the Temptations, like, this is the one. This is it. Like, it's a record. It's a real record. I said, I want to hear it. I was like, I'm going to do it today. I didn't have it recorded. We're literally, anybody could have stole this song. We're just going around just singing it everywhere. You know what I mean? So, it ain't registered BMI, ain't nothing. It's just, I'm just out here.
No protection.
No protection. I'm just out here just singing it. And I walk on stage. First of all, I thought John had, because the church I was going to was small churches. This is when he worked with radio. You remember back when he had a radio station? So he did a radio interview with me. He was like, I like this kid. Let's bring him up here.
Church, right?
Yeah, so I literally thought it was going to be, bro, I took 4 boxes, and there were 30 CD boxes. That's 120 CDs. Fam, it was 15,000 people. Yeah. I mean, and 4 services, jam-packed, arena. I mean, at that time, it was the largest church I had ever been in. Most folks I ever seen. So I go up, we hit the song, dump the place. John Hanna come back out. He's like, yo, come here. Hey, yo, come here. Did y'all hear what he just said? He just said in his ad-libs, he's been doing it for a long time. I ain't never heard nobody say that before. He just said he's been doing, say that again. He's been doing it for a long time. Say that again. Oh my God. Sing it again. Church flip. We get to the back. He laughing like, what? You brought how many CDs? He died like, he a clown. It's like, we're just, all right. He's like, bro, you don't know what church you're at. They're gonna eat these CDs up. So, and this is my old like stressing out CD or something like that. So it's like, well, I'm just gonna have one box per service. They're gonna eat them up. They're gonna be gone. So every service they sold out before the service was dismissed. They just ran out and got it. We get to the back, and Snoopy's like, yo, that's crazy. Go home, record it. I'm a push it for you pro bono. Wow. Snoopy, that's what she told me. Wow. Like, go home, record it in the closet. Literally put a microphone in the closet, record intentional. And then I said, well, here's it, unmixed, anything. She got it. I didn't know that she was hired by RCA. I had no clue. Didn't know she was like doing work for them on the side. Yeah. So she, I think his name was it Gio?
Mm-hmm. Gio Bivens.
Yeah, Gio. So she was like, Gio, Joseph, y'all gotta hear this. She interrupted someone else's meeting. There was another artist meeting. I know the name. I'll tell y'all later. But she interrupted the meeting. No. That don't matter. You know, folks hold grudges. But she interrupted the meeting. I don't know. But I ain't trying to get no enemies. She interrupted the meeting, played the record, and Gio said, do whatever it takes to get him here. And they flew me to New York. The rest is history. So that was a moment.
Wow. And who was your attorney on that?
Well, you came
do a
the
good
next
job.
year. No, you came the next year.
He didn't do a good job, whoever he was.
He's a good man.
Whoever his attorney was sucked. I seen that deal.
I don't think I did the deal.
You didn't do the deal.
Thank you.
I know you didn't do the deal. But
get out of there.
But it was a season. It is what it is. Yeah.
That's good.
We love that.
So I want to talk a little bit about what I heard on my speaker when someone sent me a link and said, hey, Travis is working on this, you know, just listen ahead of the meeting. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. You know, so I'm like making my coffee.
What were you expecting to hear?
I thought it was going to be a big old worship album. Honestly, I did. So I'm making my coffee and I'm ready to go in like, okay, well, this will be nice. And the beat dropped and the guitar and this Americana rootsy. And I said, wait, what?
Put on some Janice Gaines, huh?
And I grabbed my phone. I'm like, what is, I texted you. I was like, this is different. And from that moment, I was like, I'm joining the meeting. I'm rolling my sleeves up, finding my little marketing hat and just like excited about it. So talk about the album just because I think it's going to be impactful, not because everyone's going to be singing it on Sunday morning, because it's not that type of album, but it is such an artistic expression that is like refreshing and new and real and excellent. Yeah. It is excellent. So I'm just hyping it, but go.
Nah, we'll leave some suspense. I won't say the album title. Yeah. We'll maybe do like something special.
Reveal.
Yeah, a reveal. We got to get back to the reveal days. Right. Everything's too easy now. We got to
this and it's just a blurry.
Yeah, we got to reveal. But no, man, I was just ready to start cooking again. And actually, the biggest help for this record, honestly, is sitting to my right. It was JJ. He was like, hey man, I know you thinking about doing some more music. What do you think about, doing some kind of off the wall collaborations? Yeah. And I'll never forget my response to him was, hey man, if I have to carry the room, I don't want to be in it, right? It's not worth it for me. Unless I'm specifically trying to help people learn how to write. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about like my actual material, I'm more efficient in my zone. But if you could put me around people who are going to challenge me or can add, and he just kind of had a smirk. He was like, I mean, some guys out there, right?
Watch this.
Yeah, there's some guys out there that can, And I was like, all right, well, surprise me, let's go. It was like, you willing to go to Nashville? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we went, did a few writes, and then one guy in particular, man, we just struck fire. The very first session was like, oh snap, what was that? Yeah. But we were going in a certain direction. Which the first record was a little more worship. So it was headed on this direction, and then I literally, things come to me in dreams sometime, and I literally just kind of had a dream, and I really felt like the Lord was like, hey, I don't like, and I had to have permission because it's not who I naturally am, right? My nature is like, how people be like, I'm from the church, but I ain't proud of it. Mm-hmm. Nah, and you know how some people wear the hood on their sleeve. Like, I'm from East Side, dog. Like, that's how I am about church. Like, I'm from church, dog. Like, I'm proud. Like, I don't shy away from it. I'll straight speak in tongues right here on Mav on the mic, and y'all just keep up or join me. Like, I don't care. It just is what it is. Like, I'm charismatic, and I am proud of my upbringing. I'm proud of God. I'm proud of the church, and I ain't got no problem with that. So musically, that's my lane. I'm like, this, you know who you're gonna get. Preaching, that's my lane. You know who you're gonna get. Like, and so God had to give me permission to do something different. Not that I wasn't even seeking it, bro. It was literally like, he was just like, I want you to make a record for the person who may not come to church. And I was like, what? Like, that ain't even, like that's not like natural. Like, I'm cool and I can adjust and I can assimilate, and if I'm in an environment, I could be all things to reach anybody. But like musically, that's never been. And I'm not one to like try to make non-Christian music for the sake of being cool. I feel very cool as a Christian. Right. I don't need anything to build my confidence. So I don't need that. I don't need So for me, it was just like God was like, nah. And this is the way I felt like he phrased it, and this is what I took back to the studio. Like, make a record for the listener's brother who won't come to church. And so that's what the album is, and that's why I had that tone. And then we went back and we found this gritty thing, and we was like, you know what? Let's keep the album like this, and so the record feels very gritty, very very old and modern at the same time, which is kind of cool. But every one of them has very cool messaging. Ultimately, and I had this conversation with old girl yesterday, but she was saying ultimately it still is gospel because it is the gospel. So it's still reaching people. Right. I was just again, I felt this mission, this burden from God. This is the first time I'm not dead in your face with Jesus and the blood and the Holy Ghost every single song. That's right. I'm not like, it's not like dead on. That's coming too though. I want to do a live worship record. So I ain't lost my edge for anybody who wonder like, did we lose them? Nah, I'm still here. I'm still here. But this is literally a missional record. It's outreach, and I think it's going to be effective. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's fresh. Yeah, for sure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mavericks on the mic. We've had the Grammy Award nominated. We've had the pastor extraordinaire, leadership extraordinaire, author, my brother.
Your favorite worship leader,
Your favorite worship leader, Travis Greene. You don't want to miss this episode. You know where to find us. Check it out on Tribl's YouTube, Mav City Music's Instagram. We're going to do a collab post on this one, though. So it'll be at travisgreen.tv, no dot, and likely Forward City.